Greetings and welcome. This is Psychic Medium Roberto, and I truly hope you're doing well. I'm guided by Spirit, and I remain humble in the presence of Spirit. Just a quick announcement before we get going. New series coming to the channel, Ancient Saturdays podcast. We're going to go deeper into the past. For example, I recently covered the Notre Dame church burning, or at least the opening ceremony, the reopening. And in that reading, we discovered that at the start and the genesis of that church began on a portal sequence. So there are many things we can look at. It's not so much, it will include things like what we see on the History Channel, ancient aliens, etc. Yes, we'll go there. But I'm interested in also the different races, different parts of the world, things that have happened. It's going to be darker, a little bit darker. All right, so adding that to Saturdays, Ancient Saturdays. I'm getting the hurry up from Spirit. All right, here we go. Trigger warning: the subject matters of a mature nature and deals with true crime events. All cases are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. And in this episode, I'm looking at the curious case of the missing twins, who unfortunately have been missing since January the 7th in Aberdeen, in Scotland. Now, I believe this case has a broader interest. The sisters were originally from Hungary and were unfortunately last seen Market Street at the Victoria Bridge on Tuesday, January the 7th at approximately 2:12 a.m. And this is the last known CCTV footage of them. It is very early hours of the morning. We can see here, I've got a closer map, but just to give you perspective, Aberdeen is up here north in Scotland by the Victoria Bridge. Here's the UK here. And then we have the bridge. So Market Street is this street here. Let me just get the proper arrow here quickly. So Market Street, as far as I see it on the map, and I'll show you, starts from this corner, this intersection. There's another name for the street here. So here's Market Street, and here's the bridge. So somewhere in the zone, for practical purposes, depending where that photo was taken, but it starts from here to here. So I've just made that circle, right? Now, if we go to the actual map here, you'll also see, so there's Market Street. Before that, you can't really see it clearly. I'll try and get a zoom in there, just for clarity purposes. I don't change my imaging or pictures that I get. You can see there's a different name on that street, but when we get to here, Ponanook Road, however you pronounce it, Market Street. Alright, so this is where we are. This is where we're dealing with. We also note that there is obviously a big pool of water, because obviously if anything has gone wrong, did they slip into the water? What happened? 2 o'clock in the morning. So what was actually happening? Alright, so here's the chart here. Let me maybe bring these in a bit later. Because I know we're in treacherous times and there's a lot going on. And for clarity, if you're watching real time, we've dealt with these date sequences already in many episodes. So I was very cognizant of that. And I took it initially, and this is why context is important. So we've got two sisters, seemingly innocent two sisters, we can assume, why were they out so late or early in the morning? Did they go out on the Monday evening? That's an assumption. We don't know what happened there. But there's the time zone, and here we are here. So if we look in the -1, 0, +1, this is where they are last seen on that CCTV footage. In fact, I'm going to bring that picture in because I think it's relevant here. I did an energy read on that picture, and what always bothered me about this picture, and I'll be quiet for a moment while those that are energy readers, you have a moment. In fact, I'll make it bigger. Have a look at that. Of course, it's a bit grainy, but have a look. So this then becomes the last recorded image, right? So this becomes the last recorded image, okay? Now, I looked at this from a very, let's say, two sisters, something goes wrong. Nothing else, no other hidden information, nothing, okay? So when we start mark out what are the what can we see are issues, right? So in other words, where are there conflicts in the numbers? In the +1, we see all of these 9s. So there's possibly a clue. I extended to January 9, and we see all of these 9s out of kilter, and there's a 10, 1, 19, 10, 10, 1 in play. It naturally becomes in play because in the -1, we see in the +3, we see that sequence of numbers here. So what are we seeing? 3, 9, something's gone wrong. Something is out of balance. That's a generic, it will always be that, okay? 10, 1. Now this is an odd number. So we can maybe ask, and now we're looking at it on a regular level, human level, 10, 1, is there trafficking going around in Aberdeen? Because when you get 10 1s and operational numbers 19, 10, 1, we start thinking about trafficking numbers. But unfortunately, when you want to get to trafficking numbers, you need to include like 37 10 1s, 40 outcome 4. Those are your typical trafficking clues. So why would there be a group? Now this is in the day before things go wrong, right? The day before. Now why is it important? Because what were they doing in the evening? So the evening numbers were 16 7 with an outcome 7. That's in the evening. The 7 plus the 9 is the day number. And here's when we get into the evening, 16 7. Okay? So what was going on in the intention of the day? They technically go missing, so overnight, right? We see all of these out of kilter 9, so something's gone down. There's definitely a larger group involved. I do and will use the term agency. I know that's going around a lot at the moment, but look here. There's a 19, 10, 1, 10, 1 operation. So what operation is going down that we find these two sisters, and now I'm going to give you my take on the energy read. There's something that this picture bothers me in the first place. The reason why it bothers me is because the energy that I'm feeling based on these two is they are extremely focused and on a mission, versus, and we've seen a lot of this footage on YouTube, drunk nights in Berlin or drunk nights in London, drunk nights in wherever. I don't think these two look intoxicated or are slumping around. They have purpose. They are moving with purpose. That's my general sense. and they're in sync with each other. Of course they would be, because they're twins. Naturally, even through numerology, they would be technically linked, but we can also look at differences within their names. This would be an example. Okay? If we had to distinguish the twin amongst the twin. Okay? I've been looking at this for about 2 hours. It is now January 14, approaching 2:30 p.m. Another set of numbers that are bothering me in the +6 of the night before, 22-4. There's a plan. There's a plan. To me, they look like they're walking with purpose. They're not, it doesn't feel like they are 2 a.m. tired. Does that make sense? We've all had our moments in life. So 22-4, 13-4, what concerns me now, if we look at it that perspective, 13-4, overnight into 13-4, and then they meet foul play 14-5, unfortunately. I have a theory, because there are other numbers that are alarming now, right? So let's just mark 19-10-1. So we know any crime scene or any situation, 2 women have gone missing. It's unfortunately now 7 days later. I saw it for the first time this morning. We got an operation. There's a plan in play here. And if we stay on that line, we see a 25-7. Now we're going to get the real issue here. 25-7. So there's an issue. And 7. Why is there 7 here? There's an issue here that deals with people in authority. 7. I don't believe the issue will be with each other, because they wouldn't be together necessarily. I mean, we can surmise. They don't look like they're having an argument there. So this is the night before. So this is before they even get to that position where they are there, 25-7. There's an issue. Now 16-7. Now what's another number that's bugging me around here? The number that caught my attention, because there's always going to be a number that stands out for me. Over time, it will become natural for you as well. Why are there so many 16-7? So there's 2 options here. 16-7 can be a serial killer, or now 16-7 can also be surveillance. I don't want to be dramatic. I went the serial killer route first, and maybe I'll share that. Let's have a look. So is there a serial killer at play? Because the 16-7 goes through, right? I'm not saying it is. I'm taking you through the process. By all accounts, not very nice, unfortunately. Very unpleasant numbers. However, if very horrible numbers if we in the real physical world. But what is actually going on behind you? Because all of these numbers technically are hidden, right? The only numbers we can see are these here. -101. These are all hidden. So we've got a staging number here, 26-8. What has been staged? Staged, in my opinion, I'm not saying they're not real. The staging is 2 sisters have vanished. There's a cover up here, 17-8. Now the reason why I say it's a cover-up and it's staged. There are two numbers, 16-7 being the main one, and 17-8. So if we, for example, I hope I didn't jump too forward there, but the 16-7 continues into the night. So is it continued surveillance? Or was wherever they were before, was the serial killer following them the whole night? I doubt the serial killer will be following them from sunrise to sunrise the next day, a whole day. So it's not a serial killer. If you look at it, that's one way of looking at it, right? So why is there this constant 16-7 around them? In other words, why is there constant surveillance? Now, I'll also just add a point, because now it's right to say it. We are in wartime. And I kept on looking, and let me reintroduce, he's just reminded me, stand by. Let me reintroduce you to Matthew Trickett. Now, you'll be asking, who is Matthew Trickett? Unfortunately, Matthew Trickett was found deceased in a park in the UK on May 19, 2024. If you haven't watched this episode, I'll put the link, but I'm just going to do a summary. Matthew is believed to have been working with the Chinese spy, the whole gedunte, right? So here we have a template of allegedly a spy. There's other agents on the ground. I recall saying China, Russia together in this one. So do we see any similar numbers at play? Now, here's the date here. I'll just highlight some numbers. So already there's a 19-10-1, always. I cannot stress, and I sound like the broken record, but I said in my initial beginner's book, repetition works. The more you watch, the more you learn. 19-10-1, when it's at the crime scene, always at the very minimum suspicious, right? Not, in other words, not natural. Let's say that. So we now, if we look at the, thank you for pointing that out, I just spotted that number now, 25-7. Let me just make it, so here's the, all right, 25-7, 7, in the +9, that would be 16-7, 15-6, 24-6, 15-6, someone familiar, would have been familiar to him, beg your pardon, would have been familiar, 23-5, 14-5, 22-4, 13-4, starting to ring-a-ding-a-ling. I know it sounds bizarre, but that's why Matthew has very similar numbers here. What is going on here, ladies and gentlemen? Because we also have the presence of Putin's numbers. This is what's even more alarming. And just to remind you of Putin's numbers, that's why I left them here. Here's Putin, yeah. Let's just bring him in. Well, technically, Russia is run by Putin, right? So, and I'll confirm it with the other numbers as well. No problem. Have a look here. Putin, the devil in the east. Vladimir Satan. All right. We note he's got a 10-1. He's got a 7. He's got 3-17-8. 3-17 with an outcome 8. Like Mr. Obamish. 34-7. 16-7. 7. So when you start seeing in the +9, So someone's been surveilled here, in my opinion. The outcome, in other words, at the exit door of the crime scene, 16-7, 17-8, 17-8. The next day, 17-8. And then we start picking up similar numbers that we find in the previous case that I mentioned. The 24-15-6 familiarity, the 14-5s, 22-4, 13-4 operational numbers. In my opinion, these guys were taken out for whatever reason. Interesting choice of pictures they used to advertise online. Who are these guys in the background here? Talk, and this is what happens. So my feeling is, I believe they may have. I want to use the word, and I'm being cautioned. I believe there may have been issues in this particular organization, and for whatever reason caused a disharmony within the organization, and perhaps the two were seeking new beginnings, 13-4, breakaway. And of course, the sevens in the -1, the sevens and the 16-7s weren't happy about that. And 17-8's outcome of January 7, 17-8. And unfortunately, I don't believe it's going to be good. We've got, now I'm going to bring in Russia's numbers to fill the story. Because obviously Putin and his aging alien body, if you want to call it that. So we'll go dark and ancients on Saturdays. I always love ancients. Let's have a look here. Okay, so December 12, 1991 is Russia as we know it today, Russia. And then April 3, 1995 is the KGB rebranded, because Putin comes from the Cold War era, right? KGB. Of course, he at that time was head of intelligence. So in Russia, we've got the 12-3, 12-3. So there's even a conflict in Russia itself. Within Russia, there's a 12-3, 12-3 conflict. And that speaks about communities. 21-3. We got a foreign community in this land as well, by the way. 24-6, so familiar, family. Here's the giveaway for Russia is their 44-8 distinguishing number as well, 44-8. Oh, they've got a 26-8 here as well, hey? So hidden, you see at the exit door of the crime scene in the +9, all is now revealed. The light is switched on, 17-8, but on the ground, 26-8. On the ground, 26-8. So someone, and there could be hints of local people used as well. There is a 15-6. Okay. In the KGB, now known as Secret Service or whatever they call themselves, the 31-4, 13-4, you remember here in this chart here with Matthew, 31-4, 22-4, 13-4. And with the two sisters, the night they go missing, the 22, 4, 13, 4, 4. Hidden. So I've just been reminded, and this is obviously based from Matthew's case and Gareth. I've included before up north in Canada. There are operators everywhere, right? And as much as I went the route of plain and simple, if you want to call it that, or let's put it this way, it's a simple situation of someone took the two girls out, and that's it. Call it a serial killer, right? But when you start zooming out and looking at other numbers around the scene, that is also important. It's not necessarily just the main number. What is the context telling you versus what the numbers are telling you? Two women are walking along the street at night in the early hours of the morning, and they vanish. The numbers are telling me, yes, okay, that's possible. Yes. But when you start looking at the bigger picture, you start saying, but why was there operational movement around? Here's the two sisters' numbers here, 20 outcome 2, two sisters. There's the sister number, 20 outcome 2. So the narrative is right, yes. But what happened? And what is going on here? 12-3 community. There's that 21-3, 12-3 I was talking about. The foreigners within Russia themselves. Who are those foreigners? Vladimir Putin and his people. 24-6, 15-6. So once again, we have familiarity around. 24-6 in the middle of Russia's numbers. We are in wartime, ladies and gentlemen. That, for me, clinches the deal here for me. And I keep trying to recheck. So in the intention, let's have a look here. In the +3, the morning they're walking around. The morning they're walking around, there's a 10-1. Well, we have the same conflict that we picked up in other shows, but it still remains the same. There's a 10-1 issue. So why would you have a 10-1 unless they were being trafficked, 10-1? But I mentioned this is more operational than trafficking. I look to see it's not money. This is agencies, organizations. Very unlawful, 11-2. So this is like Putin and his buddy Xi Jinping there, Vladimir Satan Ping in the East, helping each other. And all those events that they've been doing registers as unlawful. In many ways now also registers as death of innocence, with T's and C's applied, I would imagine. So this to me looks very problematic. And again, to make sure I'm not going down the wrong rabbit hole, we have accompanying numbers around here that support the theory. What is going on? Two sisters have vanished into thin air. So in an attempt to see, are we going to find them? How are we going to find them? Are we going to find them? Where are they? Unfortunately, with a 26-8 around, not very good, not pleasant actually. You see, when there's a 22-4 on the scene, we'd say Earth, but now the 22-4 is before the event. So this will speak more to a plan. So when we look at the event, there is a hint of water here, 20 outcome 2. But just confirmation, unfortunately, when you're dealing with numbers, and I'm just going to speak frankly, sorry if there are family members watching or people that know them, but if you want to dispose of a body, of course there are many ways, right? But the problem is when you start looking at the numbers, now we're looking in the +6 where action happens, in the real action. When we see a combination of numbers 14, 5, now let's just take 5 on its own. 5 is not you don't want a 5 in a crime scene either. The 5, so let me just say why. Because 5 in a crime scene means there's no emotions around here. In other words, the perp is not going to care what they are doing. 5 is where you find your sociopaths and those kind of people that are machines, operational. They don't care if you got kids or whatever. That's why a 5 in a scene, not good. And we got a lot more 5s. With the 23-5 around in the +9 of this date alone would be destruction of body. In the +9, 26-8 is not a good scene either from a biology point of view. This would have passed as a regular case. Yes, 100%. Except 19, 10, 1, 10, 1, 22, 4, operational. See, it's also an operational number, operational plan. And here's the conflict here, 25, 7. These guys, in my opinion, were being surveilled. And at the most opportune time, at 2 a.m. in this area here, it went down. Many ways to escape from a perp point of view. I'm not familiar with the area, but just on face value, you got 4 different routes you can go. Of course, you might not go the route where they were walking, so there's 3 available options. Matthew was found here in the UK. Now it's 2 different countries, yes. But you can imagine it's a lot shorter distance to travel versus the distance you travel across the US, right? To get to Canada from one side to the other, for example. Yeah, how far would this be, I wonder? People are mobile, so even if we look at the days leading up, and this is what I'll explain in the tutorials as well, the build-up to a situation, I mean, if we discover that this is true or allegedly or whatever, then we need to go further back, at least 9 days, maybe 18 days to get a read, like I did with Gabby Petito. We did a whole month of emotional markers. I mean, that kind of thing is relevant for relationships, right? But from an operational point of view, we can even go 9 days back and see operationally what was going on. But what I'm seeing here is not a regular situation. It smacks of regular, but behind the scenes, there is clandestine operations going on here, unfortunately. So we'll keep an eye on the news and follow any further outcomes. Please leave your comments in the comment section. I do love engaging with them. Be in peace and light and harmony. Bye for now.